Good day students. In this video lecture we will be seeing the introduction to module 5, that is the clustering analysis. So the following topics will be covered in this module, that is overview to the clustering, k-means clustering, agglomerative hierarchical clustering, DB scan, cluster evaluation. Few other topics are there from the other chapter which we will be seeing in the later course. So let us begin our study with the what is cluster analysis. But before jumping into clustering analysis, let us see the brief classification of the learning methods. So the in the earlier chapters, whatever the classification techniques we have seen, it is based on the supervised learning. Generally we can have 3 or 4 types of learning methods, that is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, semi-supervised learning. But most frequently we will see the supervised learning, unsupervised learning, to some extent reinforced and semi-supervised. In the supervised learning, what happens means you will be having the data which is already labeled. So you train your model or your algorithm using this labeled data, and then you give the test data for the classification. That is what is going to happen in the supervised learning. We have already seen this in the decision tree, Bayesian classifiers, rule based classifiers and all, where you will be are having a labeled data. Suppose say that if you are given a data set where you need to classify the image as cat or dog, you will be having 10,000 images or 20,000 images of the cats and dogs combined together, which is labeled. You using that labeled data you train. That is supervised learning. The clustering analysis, basically it is based on the unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning means here the data will not be labeled. You will be having a chunk of data given to you. Based on its characteristics we are going to group. Suppose say that if we are having a group of textbooks given to you, say that in the engineering textbooks you can have the books belonging to computer science, books belonging to electronics, books belonging to mechanical. How do we decide the book belong to a computer science? So you see the content of that text. If you are having the words or jargons which belongs more to the software side, then it can be considered as the computer science textbook. If you are having words or the jargons related to the hardware part, then you can consider it as the electronics textbook. Similarly, if you can go with the mechanical or civil textbooks. So there you will not be having a explicit label on the data saying that it is a mechanical textbook, computer science textbook. Only will be having a group and its characteristics. That is called as the unsupervised learning. In unsupervised learning, clustering analysis is a very frequent or very explicitly seen technique. So let us see first what is cluster analysis. The task of grouping a set of objects in such a way that objects in the same group are more similar to each other than to those in other clusters. So what we are trying to do is in this clustering, we are trying to group the objects in such a way that the objects which are present in the same cluster are more similar to each other, and it is dissimilar compared to the other clusters objects. So that is cluster analysis. So in what way it is useful? It is useful for automatically organizing the data, understanding the hidden structure in data, pre-processing for the further analysis. So let us see the few applications of clustering. One frequent application which we see in the is the news clustering. That is grouping the news items based on the similarity in the text content into the different categories such as sports news, entertainment news, politics news, business news, like that. So this happens in the Google News, basically, where they cluster the news based on its content from the different links which they obtain. Similarly, you can see the gene expression clustering, where based on the characteristics of the genes you will be clustering that or segregating it into the different groups. In biology it can be used for classification of plants and animal kingdom given their features. In marketing area, customer segmentation can be done based on the customer purchase properties or past buying records. Based on that you can do the customer segmentation. We can cluster the weblog data to discover the groups of similar access patterns. Who are the users who are accessing the similar kind of websites that can be clustered. Or in the social network analysis you can cluster the users based on their interests. All these things are the applications of the clustering. So the news clustering, here I have given an example of the Google News. Here you can see the Google News has clustered according to the cyclones news, that is the cyclone Afnan. All these links are related to the Afnan cyclone itself, because it has clustered on the basis of the textual content. Similarly you can have the other news. You can see over here business, technology and all. Local news which is based on the location, world news, India based news, COVID-19 news. All these things are clustered based on the content. This is an example for the gene expression clustering. Then let us look at the notion of a cluster. Usually what happens means, when a chunk of data is given to us or data objects are given to us, the notion of a cluster will be very ambiguous. Suppose if you consider this particular figure where we are having a set of original points, it can be clustered in various ways. In the 8.1b they have clustered it into the 2. Here in the C it is being clustered into the 4 clusters. In the D it is being clustered into the 6 clusters. So the shape of the markers in this figure indicate the cluster membership. 8.1b and D are going to divide the data into 2 and 6 parts. 8.1c is going to have the 4 clusters. So clustering notion is very ambiguous over here. The reason is getting the 2 clusters, 4 clusters and 6 clusters all depends upon what criteria you are going to define upon this original data points, and what similarity level you are going to expect from those clusters. Based on that you may divide it into different number of clusters. That's why we say notion of a cluster is very ambiguous when it is given in the beginning. So this is what the introduction to the clustering analysis. So we will end this video lecture over here, and in the coming lecture we will be seeing the different types of clustering and different types of clusters. Thank you.